Hey everybody, this is Aylad and we are back on the Starmada server. Oh yeah. And as you can tell, I am about to take a little trip. As you may be able to tell, I'm about to take a little trip. Yeah, on my little shuttle that I finally finished. It's about dang time. So come on, put out your cigarettes and buckle in. Because we're gonna start this thing up. Alright, so yeah, I finally got this finished. So you should know that there's been a little bit of development behind the scenes here. Um, I scrapped an entire episode between last episode and now because basically I recorded a whole bunch of video. I was going to throw half of it out. I recorded a ton of narration. I was going to throw half of it out. And then I let time slide by and I forgot which parts I was going to keep and which parts I was going to throw out. And I literally could not edit the video. The different files were so scattered that I gave up. So here we are. There's been a lot accomplished since the last video. So this is mostly just going to be a progress update. But let's shut up and get this thing going. I hit the button from my seat, and we start our journey from the public dock there to the main core of the station. Yeah. So when I get right here, this is by this point we'll be inside the station. We'll be rising up through this kind of well, I suppose, um, as we start to align with this dock up here, or with this hatch. Uh, there'll be a lot more to see out through the windows. Like right now, it's mostly just Starfield with only a few little hints that we're actually in motion. But once we stop, hatches open up, and we're good to go. But yeah, that little part of the trip's going to get a lot more interesting at some point once I have it built. So this floor of the station that I'm sort of or disembarking on is a level above the shop access. The shop itself is running parallel to this big chunk of power capacitors here. um, yeah, this floor I think is going to be the diplomatic facilities. So it's like, you've arrived at the station, you've docked to the public dock, take the little shuttle up here. I need to install a gravity module here, but in fact, let me just do that. As you step off the ship, you're going to immediately have access to the stores, shops, by just kind of coming around the corner and getting in a little lift car right there. Well, this is going to have to do. Whee. Or, there's going to be access to meeting rooms, conference chambers, some kind of diplomatic apartments type situation, whatever. It's going to be pretty cool, I think. Um, yeah, the access to get up to the shop level is going to be the most interesting part of this because, like from down there, the access point. Let's see if we can see it from here. Yeah, is right there, and so it completes a 90-degree turn, and that gray slab is actually the floor of the shop area with your head pointed out that direction. From here, though, it's going to be a little bit harder. I think what I'm actually going to do is it'll be a 45-degree turn, more or less. Ooh, actually, now I'm thinking about it, it's a little bit more than a 45-degree turn. Might take some ingenuity. I want the lift car to follow the same curved track. I may not be able to make that happen. But I think what I can do is actually have the radial arm going up and just making a 45-degree turn here, and then have the lift car be a separate entity, completing another 45-degree turn and maybe a little bit of actual straight line movement on basic rail at some point. I don't know. It's gonna whoa. It's gonna take a little experimenting to get that working. Now I've got to get out of gravity again. Um, I'm not gonna do that on camera. I'm gonna get way too frustrated with it, I'm sure. But let me find a gravity module and drop out of gravity, and then we'll take the shuttle ride back the other direction. Yep, thought so. Alright, so line myself with gravity. Let's go up to the viewing deck. Probably going to change the name of the viewing deck because now it's going to be the diplomatic lobby or something like that. I don't know. Get out of gravity now. Yeah. At some point, the gravity on this station is going to be mostly automatic. Like you hit a lift button, you should automatically drop into gravity. But yeah. So this is actually my second attempt to record this episode, which is why my freighter is docked over there. That was kind of the finale of attempt one. But I rambled so much in that episode, and it went way long, and it was mostly just me failing to get my thoughts in order, that it's really not a bad thing that the sound file was completely messed up and I have to re-record it. So we're dropping down pretty soon here. We'll reach the bottom of the well, and we'll start on our journey out toward the public dock. Once we're out there, I'll kind of show you like all the behind the scenes stuff. We'll be exiting the station right about here. We'll be coming out. That freighter, by the way, is going to get completely torn apart. I've decided I really hate the design of it. Aesthetically, functionally, the whole thing. Just, it's not good. Okay, there we go. Get up out of our seat. The reason why this is here, if you're not seated, when the shuttle actually starts moving, even if you're in gravity, which you are automatically dropped into gravity when you hit the button, and even if you're aligned, whatever, it doesn't matter, you will absolutely get dropped out through this back hatch. It will leave you behind. Only by actually taking a seat can you guarantee that you'll make it all the way there. So that's a little inconvenient. Get into build mode. Whoa. Let's see. When a ship docks here, green light's cut on, doors open up in the airlock. It's kind of nice. The ship is not docked at a specific airlock. The lights are off. Doors are closed. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. These docking tubes are pretty close together. Nobody's going to be able to dock at this one. And take a fairly smallish ship to be able to dock at this one. Like you'd have to get in between my engine and the dock. That's fine. I don't mind that at all. Like, I know that, if I were docked here at the center, neither of these would be useful at all to anybody. But I'm okay with that. Like, there's so many docking tubes here. I don't see it as being an issue. There's, let's see, 9 just on the main stretch, plus another 8 on the ends. So there's 17 docking tubes here. Yeah. And they're all wired up with the logic, just like that one is. So, public docks, yep, clearly labeled, very cool. Smaller versions of the letters on the main sign. Did a lot of scaffolding to kind of hold them in place. Actually really like the effect that gives. The way the light hits the scaffolding blocks is really cool. Got little oxygen tanks with little tubes going into the ventilation system. Yeah. Pretty proud of it. Or 3 radar dishes. The 45-degree ends out here, these are actually a separate entity. They're both the same one. It's centrally located, docked right here. Yeah. I join the gaps between the two with Plex door, because that's, if it's open or deactivated, then you can actually overlap it and then close it, and it seals up pretty nicely. A little bit of Z fighting going on here and there. Let's see. Oh, actually, maybe not right here. Yeah, it's kind of behaving itself, actually. But in places when you do Plex door like that, it can kind of lead to problems. Let's see. Yeah, here's an example right here. See that Z fighting going on there. I mostly got around it on the inside of the shuttle seal, so that's not a problem. But yeah, pretty cool, I think. Um, so how's the shuttle work? Well, here's the thing. It's two entities, first of all. One of them is the actual shell of the shuttle. Ship core for that is right here. Yeah. And then inside it, it's docked to this little chunk right here. Now the ship makes a series of rotations on this, on this axis right here. And these activation modules, the active one plus these two inactive ones, actually control the angle of rotation. So right now, this activation module is always on. It's set to a minimum of 45 degrees. So as it moves forward, it's going to move 45 degrees out and then arc around. When it gets inside the station at the bottom of the well that it climbs up, it needs to make a 90-degree turn. And this wireless module will turn on this activation module, and it'll turn, 45 plus 45, it'll turn 90 degrees that way, and then go up, comes down, it turns 90 degrees again, comes around the arc, gets back to the station right here, pointed just like this right here. Needs to make a 135-degree turn. So this is still on. Both of these would turn on. 45 plus 45 plus 45 is 135. Makes the full thing. And then these two cut off, leaving only this one active for the initial 45-degree turn as it arcs around to the station. Yeah. That's almost the only logic that's actually present on board the shuttle itself. There's a ton of wireless blocks up here. These are mostly just little signals back and forth between this or the hatches or whatever else, the lights. Nothing serious going on with the wireless logic up in here. Right? So 90% of the actual serious logical stuff is out here. I'm going to try to talk you through it. This is my second attempt through it, so I'm bound to do better than I did the first time. It'd be almost impossible to do worse as long as I was still speaking any intelligible language. But anyway, so this is the entity that's that little chunk down in the belly of the shuttle. You can see that right now it's at a 45-degree angle. So when I actually start the shuttle on its journey, and if I'll drop a button, I can actually kind of do this. Let's see. Let's see. When I hit the button on the shuttle or call buttons located at either hatch that the shuttle docks to, basically it has the same effect as pressing this button. It activates this wireless logic module. That activates this set of rails, these four. So this slides along here. This corner would actually be an axis at that point, with the arrows pointed out toward this direction. So it hits that. Well, actually, as it hits this rail first, this triggers the 45-degree rotation. And all the rotations that it's currently doing are actually rotating left. So it turns left 45 degrees. Okay, hits this rail. And this would be an axis at that point. This triggers this, which triggers one of the activation modules to add another 45 degrees for its next rotation, for a total of 90 and that'll be when it gets right about where my pointer is right now, right? Um, Now the reason why this is actually filtered through this flip-flop is this gets triggered twice as often as I want it to. So uh, by doing it into this flip-flop and then into this one, this only triggers half as many times. Useful little note, just for future reference. If you have a button that triggers a flip-flop twice as often as you like, run it into another flip-flop and have that flip-flop control the one that you actually care about. Okay, so yep, hits the axis, rotates 45 degrees, so that it perfectly will, like this will actually line up with this vertical bit here. The rotating is actually what moves the shuttle from right there to right there, more or less. All right. Once it finishes its rotation, the button down here, this one, actually triggers, after a series of logic blocks, triggers this right here, which changes that axis into the rail, into a basic rail pointing out this direction. There's a reason why it does that. If I had taken the axis and pointed the arrows into that, what that would actually end up doing is it would treat the turn from here to here and the slide as a single motion, and you can't change the speed of a motion halfway through. So I want, like when it makes the turn from there to there, I want it to go at 1% speed, because otherwise, it's so far away out at the end of the arc, it's just going like bloop and super fast. I want it to go nice and slow so you get a little bit of a time to enjoy the ride. Really, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if it was even slower than it is, but I have to balance the scenic route version of things with people's general impatience, right? So it gets right there. And then I want it to slide off that axis block, but if it's all part of the same motion, it's still going to be 1% speed. And man, let me tell you, it was taking forever to go from here to here. Like easily 20-30 seconds. Way, way too long. So instead, I have the arrows on the axis pointing out this direction, and it finishes its rotation, and then it changes over to a basic rail. At that point, that also triggers this, and I think it actually ends up at 41% speed, which is slightly slower than default. Not so you'd notice. Continues on, hits this block right here, triggers its 90-degree rotation. Comes up here, do. Ignore that, it's just a display module. Keeps going, hits this. This triggers a memory about where it is. It says that it's docking here rather than there. It says that it's no longer in motion. When this is on, it means that it's moving. So it turns that off at that point, and fiddles with the speed a little, or with the rotation angle a little bit. You hit the button again, it comes down after setting motion and whatever else it needs to do. It comes down, hits this, so it's over here, rotates 90 degrees, hits here. Angle of rotation actually changes. Both of these switch on at this point, so it's going to be 135 degrees. Let's see, hits this, it does its 45-degree movement out here. Slides off, and it's the same two-part thing that I've got going on in the opposite direction, which is why you currently see it as a basic rail. It slides off, hits this, does its 135-degree rotation, and backs up to the station. Hits this, turns off the motion, and sets last dock to public dock. Hi, that's a lot of stuff. Truthfully, I'm not even sure if all this logic here is actually still hooked up to anything. I think some of it is not. it's not worth my time to puzzle it out. You know, if it's just a matter of like clicking something, oh, well, this powers this, that'd be one thing. But so much of it is actually run through wireless, it's just not worth the effort because, yeah, it'd take me forever and a lot of trial and error to figure out what's connected to what. It works. I'm happy. So let me show you it in action. Keep an eye on these down here especially. You know, watching this plus these, you can kind of see how the dynamic speed change works. Doop. Makes its rotation. You can see that. Yeah. See, that's 1% speed. Like that's pretty fast actually. Okay. See, those are off because it's 1%. As soon as it finishes its rotation, these switch back on. There they go. So it moves off the rail at 41% speed. It actually hits 50% once it's past that. 41% was just because. I grabbed a bunch of activation modules. I didn't really care as long as it was a lot faster than it had been. Alright, cool. Everything sets. So this is the state that it's in when it stops up at that hatch. Yeah. Did some funky little work here with these. Like, at this point it actually goes from on and off to off and on. And that's just because this only and indirectly controls this one. So this is what makes sure that the angle gets set properly every time. Let me activate this again. Zoom out, you can kind of watch all the logic at once. Yep. This could be faster, but I think once it's more interesting to watch, I think I'll appreciate the fact that it's slow. As it finishes its rotation here, watch probably this one. Boom. Yep. Cool. So, there you go. That's how that works, more or less. This is easily the most complicated rail logic I've even tried. In videos, I'm not sure I've seen anyone do anything more complicated than this. That probably says more about how few videos I've watched than anything else, though. So, yep, there's that. Other stuff I've accomplished. I think I've pretty well shown everything else. Yeah, pretty sure I have. I'm very proud of it. Like, I think it's pretty great. Um, Worth the effort, almost certainly. So, yeah, pop out of my build block. We'll watch it from this perspective now. Whee! See, I could slow that down to like half of 1%, and I wouldn't mind it too much, but I have a feeling it'd get tedious after a while. Oh, okay. Sorry, I lost track of where it was. And it rises. The logic for this is actually down here. The hatch was originally right on top of this logic. I decided I wanted the hatch higher. As it rises into position, watch here. There's kind of like an airlock seal deploys, and that's just Plex door. Here on the station, things don't line up properly because of the angle. It's like a half block off. So I actually have Plex block. You can see our Plex door deploying on the station itself. You can see where it would be based on where my ghost block is. On the hatch that's currently at, I only have Plex door on the shuttle itself. And that's just because it lines up perfectly here, since it's straight out rather than on a 45-degree angle. But anyway, just a little side note about why I've been so kind of scattered this episode, both times I've tried to record it. As I mentioned in an announcement video recently, I am awaiting the birth of my first child. She is overdue. This is not good for my mental health. Yeah. So I've taken a bunch of time off work because I can't concentrate on work with, worrying about what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. And it's been kind of hard to collect myself and do things and talk logically. Man, I'm going to rip this thing apart. I really don't like this thing anymore. I was pretty proud of it at first, but whatever. Got an idea for a much cooler freighter I'm going to replace it with. But yeah, so just for sanity's sake, I'm not going to be recording a whole lot in the near future, I don't think. I am out of backlog now because my daughter is later arriving than she's supposed to be. And by the time you're watching this video, it's very likely that she has been born. But I don't know, and I hate not knowing. It drives me crazy. Is this supposed to be two separate lines? Yeah, it is. Okay, that's right. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to me ramble on. I'm sure none of my explanation of the logic actually made much sense, but I hope you figured it out from watching it anyway. And, yeah. Take care. Bye-bye.